So yesterday we have seen India-Pakistan, India-Afghanistan relations, right? Like the continuation of the same will be India-China relations. Why is China important for India? Or how does China affect India's interest is the core. If you remember, one of the first things or one of the first lessons that I have mentioned is Indian foreign policy independent of China, or are we responding to China? That was the question. You remember? Okay. So today we will be discussing about China. So if you see question number 3 in 2017, China is using its economic relations and positive trade surplus as a tool to develop potential in the light of the statement. Discuss its impact. Okay. Now, with every other country, what are the common things that we remember? Yesterday you tried to tell me like water issues, border issues, China's expansionism. With China, what are the common themes that you remember? You know China, right? Like where is China? What is China? Did China come up in our discussions? Yes. So probably no class will be, at least higher class will be complete without discussion on China. China is the most simple or significant impacting factor on India's foreign policy decisions. One of the determinant, either if you take geography or any other concept, China will be the common factor. So before going into that, have you read yesterday's article? Which one? China reduced its poverty. Is it relevant to IR? Yes. So we are in IR class, right? Yes. No? What did you understand from that article?
So actually he wanted to maintain good relations with the surrounding countries.
Okay.
So he actually had to visit US, but due to COVID pandemic, it got postponed.
All these are nuts and bolts, right? Like what is the major theme, summary of the article?
He wanted to maintain good relations with all the countries. But Imran Khan is not with that opinion.
Okay. Anyone else? Amo?
Due to his power ending in this, he wants to maintain good relations with all the countries from West also, from China's point of view also. But this is opposed by the democratic group that is led by Imran Khan.
Is that the major takeaway? Like 1 year down the line, when you remember that article, the summary, that one-line summary you will remember, right? That is called as takeaway. When we read from day one, we try to remember all the 1500 words. But in the long run, after 1 year, you will only remember one line from that article. What is that one line that you will remember from that article even after 1 year? Now think from that point of view. Anyone else online? One-line summary.
India should not worry about Pakistan talking to US, resumption of the relations with US. Sooner than later, we must resume dialogue with Pakistan. It will be better for both of us.
We should resume dialogue with Pakistan. That is what Raja Mohan said.
With complete international isolation is bad. I mean, whatever Pakistan does, complete international isolation is not something benefiting for India, at least, is what his argument was.
Mhm.
That's what I understood.
Okay. So I take it the rest of you haven't read that article. Okay. So again, the major distinction that you can notice as a beginner in that article is he clearly talks about military establishment and political establishment as two separate entities. When you talk about India's foreign policy, we talk about Indian Army, Indian Navy, Indian whatever, or Indian government, everybody in the same line. There are no two parallel tracks. Okay. If India says something, Indian Army will say the same thing. Indian employees will say the same thing. Politicians will say the same thing. There are no two opinions on the same thing. But when it comes to Pakistan, there is no clear-cut foreign policy. Okay. Here also there are many players who influence foreign policy, but all of them more or less will be in the same line. If government says this is final, you like it or you don't like it, that is final. Then army will not make separate statements again. So if as a different country we are discussing what Bajwa is saying and what Imran Khan is saying as two separate things, then there is no coherence. Tomorrow in place of Imran Khan, actually somebody else is already there. Tomorrow somebody else might come there. That means a new person, new foreign policy. A new army general, new foreign policy. So there is no stability, right? If the goalpost is shifting, how can I shoot? If the goalpost is fixed, okay, no matter who comes, the goalpost is there. Goalkeepers might change. Here, the goalpost itself is changing. So that's a huge problem. So we cannot have stable dialogue with Pakistan unless there is stability from Pakistan's perspective also. Okay, even Pakistan need to realize. You can connect this article to one more article. Yesterday I was mentioning, right? F-16 deal with USA. So what happened in that simple deal? Normally, Donald Trump, when Donald Trump was president, he said one line like Pakistan is taking all our money freely. Pakistan is not giving or doing anything for us. So we should not have any deals with Pakistan. Okay. So technically, the term is freeze of relations. So what India and Pakistan right now have is deep freeze. That means it's like status quo. Nothing is happening. What happens in deep freeze? It will be there 6 months also. It's in deep freeze. Okay. No movement whatsoever. Okay. Donald Trump said like Pakistan should be banned or temporarily put under freeze. No dealing with Pakistan. Then now Joe Biden came and he said it's okay to give certain aircrafts to Pakistan. It's around 450 million something deal. The reading between the lines, there is a concept called as reading between the lines. If you read between the lines, it's more of an economic deal. That means the Lockheed Martin, the company which made those fighter jets, needed some money. Okay, so they are looking for potential buyers. So all these third world countries are potential markets for weapon manufacturers. Russia sells weapons to India. That is why Russia and India are also good friends. The moment you stop selling, or if tomorrow Indian Parliament makes a law saying, Russia is violating human rights, we will stop buying weapons from Russia. Do you think Russia will be same good friend to India? Definitely it will affect our economic interest and their relation towards us. So wherever money flows, relations will be good. Where money doesn't flow, relations will be affected. That is a major lesson we have to take. Okay. And Jaishankar said that all of us know where the fighter jets will be deployed. That means it will be deployed on Indian borders. But again, we are better equipped. America also defended by saying, there is no status quo. That means we are not giving them better advanced versions of aircrafts where you will be affected. Yesterday I told you, right? If America gives a Mach 5 aircraft to Pakistan, Pakistan will have advantage. Right now, F-16 or whatever weapons India have maintains the same status quo. The number changes, but that does not mean one is higher or one is lower. Okay. Yeah. So if you see the third question in 2017, the first line, China is using its economic relations as a tool to develop potential military power. Any keyword that comes to your mind? Soft power. How is it even soft power?
They are not using any weapons or military sort of things to have control over Asia. They are using the economic relations.
Isn't it weaponization of economy? It's weaponization of economy and trade, right? See, I have money, I'm using that for my own purposes. Okay, so that is very important for you to remember. Yeah. Supply chain weaponization, soft power into hard power. Basically, economy is not exactly soft power, right? If you are using economy for, let's say, humanitarian assistance, you are giving welfare or free grants, like, grants, not loans. Grants means one time thing. Okay, you take it, you don't have to give back. All those things are soft power. But if you are using your trade as a tool, then that becomes a problem. So today we will briefly discuss China, because China is a major topic. Then it will cover all the three neighbors like Pakistan, Afghanistan and China. The three major sites will be covered. The rest will be like bordering nations. So first, the heading is China. Under China, what is the first and most obvious issue? Border issue. All of you know the points, right? Write down the points. What points you will write? LOAC. Homework, right? I told you to find out the difference. How many of you found out? What is the difference?
See the border between India and Pakistan. LOAC is between India and China.
I showed you on the day one map itself, right?
It extends from northern part of India to
LOAC. Okay.
There is like 50 to 100 kilometers apart from the big border. It is some sort of no max. But the LOC has frequent integrations with Pakistan.
Okay. See, the simple is not Pakistan or China, right? There is much more beyond Pakistan and China. What is the most obvious difference between China and, LOAC and LAC? It will be nice if you can tell me.
It is a legal agreement between China and India. LOAC is a legal agreement. But here due to some work
LOAC is a legal agreement between India and China. LOC? Again, you're stuck at countries, right? India, Pak, India, China. Is LAC agreed upon? Is line of actual country agreed upon?
China does not agree with LAC.
LOC?
Pakistan agrees for LOC.
So homework is incomplete. Try to find out more details about LAC and LOAC tomorrow. I want you to find out whether LAC and LOAC are agreed upon. That means, are they recognized by the opposing countries? For example, LOC. LOC is a boundary line or a border line that is between India and Pakistan. Is Pakistan also saying LOC is where exactly LOC we say it is? Okay. Or is China saying LOAC is not fixed? Tomorrow find out and let me know. Okay. A bit more homework, not anything new. So first point in India. In which year? 1993. 62.
and now First, it was agreed between two countries, but they are lost. China is lost.
Okay, then where does McMahon line come into the entire picture? Where is McMahon line? Have you seen it in the map? Yes. McMahon line చూడలేదా map లో? చూసినట్టే ఉన్నాను. గుర్తులేదు. No problem. Write down the first point. Border issues, right? China claims small territories in Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, and Jammu and Kashmir. And it is also claiming Arunachal Pradesh, full stop, Arunachal Pradesh, right? Full stop. So that means China is not only claiming one part of India, China is claiming large part of India. If you see, for example, Arunachal Pradesh is clear cut within India. There is no dispute. But what China tries to do is, recently it started renaming some villages in Arunachal Pradesh. Okay. Or if someone from Arunachal Pradesh applies a visa to China, they're giving something called as a stapled visas. So normally it's an international practice that if you give a stapled visa to someone, okay, that means you take a pamphlet or something and put it, it's like a disputed territory. So China is trying to say that Arunachal Pradesh is a disputed territory. Is it actually a disputed territory? No, it's a part of India. But China wants to create a lot of pressure on India, saying that Arunachal Pradesh belongs to us. For example, there is a very famous monastery called as Tawang Monastery. Okay, Tawang. It's in Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, so for example, if Dalai Lama, President of India, Prime Minister of India, or any famous Indian personality or politician wants to go to Tawang Monastery, China cries, or China raises objections, saying that, how can they go to Tawang Monastery? That means indirectly it is trying to dictate what is happening in the country. But if you remember the Panchsheel agreements, what are the Panchsheel agreements? One of the most important point of Panchsheel agreement is non-interference in each other's internal matters. What happens within Arunachal Pradesh is India's internal matter, right? China has nothing to do with that, but still China claims. Next, we have to respect each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty. Okay, you lay roads through our Ladakh. Okay, yes or no? Pak occupied Kashmir. Then again you claim villages in Arunachal Pradesh. You are not respecting my sovereignty, right? All these are major problems. Next, line of actual control. It is a line up to which each side exercises actual control. Okay, so there is no mutually agreed line of actual control. Okay, see, one important point you have to remember is line of actual control is flexible according to China. Okay, in China's mind, line of actual control is flexible. That means if let's say this is actually line of control, line of actual control. Okay, this is perceived boundary. Then it is not a permanent boundary. Normally, permanent boundaries are called as international boundary line or international boundary, right? IBs. We don't have an IB with China. It's a perceived boundary. Perceived boundary means both of us have said like this is the boundary. So this red line is what? Line of actual control. In reality, what happens is, let's say 3 kilometers of either direction. Okay, there will be something called as patrolling points. PPs, patrolling point. Let's say this is patrolling point 15. Then patrolling point 16, some kilometers away, like hundreds of kilometers away. Like this, around like thousands of kilometers of territory is there. Yes or no? In all the territory, this red line is what? Line of actual control. But in reality, what happens is this red line will keep changing, right? Like for example, it will be like something like this. I mean, geographically, it is not possible to have a boundary over a road or a mountain. So you put the red mark around the mountain or something. So the boundaries will keep changing. Then automatically what happens? Your patrolling points will also keep changing. Yes or no? Sometimes it is further, sometimes it is closer, sometimes it is near. So these things happen. In reality, let's say if this is China side, this is Indian side. Okay. Armies or soldiers will only go up to PPs, patrolling points. Standing at the patrolling point, they will see if everything is safe, everything is fine. They actually don't go to the red line daily. Okay, no soldier actually goes all the way till LOAC and sees, okay, LOAC is here or not. Okay, these things are normal. Even China will follow the same convention that they will also have patrolling points. One day, one fine day, China will start waking up and say, you know, now this is the new LOAC. Okay, the dotted line. Okay, so what happened? The LOAC changed. The line of actual control changed. According to whom? China. But what is India saying? The darker, the continuous line is the line. The dotted line is the not the new line. So this is called as 2 steps forward, 1 step backward policy of China. That means what China will say is, I will come 2 steps into the country. I will come 2 kilometers into India. Okay, then I will go back 1 kilometer. So what happened? Now China technically created a new LOAC. You understood? It came 2 kilometers into India. Then India pushed China back. Okay, China will go back how much? 1 kilometer. So did China lose or gain new territory? It gained a new territory, right? Actually, this first line is original line. Okay, this is occupied line. Now moving back only to half. So then actually China changed the status quo. That means China changed the LAC. So it's like a rope. If you keep changing the rope, what happens? Can you ever agree on the permanent boundary? No, right? So that is a problem. I mean, this is oversimplification, but for IR classes, this is enough. Like we don't need to do PhD and all those things, right? So for basic IR, this is more than enough. That the problem is China keeps changing the goalpost, just like the Pakistan. Okay. So if we have a permanent boundary line, then tomorrow, day after tomorrow, 10 years down the line, also still that line is boundary. But if you don't agree upon a line, what happens? I can change, you can change. India's nature is not to change. Obviously, whose nature is it to change? China. That is called as Chinese expansionism, right? Okay, so that is the importance of line of action control. Next, Aksai Chin and McMahon line. MCMAHON. McMahon line. Aksai Chin and McMahon line. Okay, are also issues. Where is Aksai Chin? Beside Arunachal Pradesh. Beside Ladakh or within Ladakh? Besides Ladakh, not in Ladakh. Sure. Try to remember where is Ladakh. Aksai Chin is in Ladakh only, right? The right side part, whatever is occupied by China. Next. Threats and issues. Side heading. Threats and issues. Chinese expansionism. Chinese expansionism. And China's salami slicing strategy. Chinese expansionism and Chinese salami slicing strategy is a threat. Obviously, that is a heading, right? Threat. You remember threat, salami slicing, expansionism? Yes. See, there are different theories, but if you see the map, Ladakh, Aksai Chin, Sikkim, Bhutan, Nepal, Tibet, all these are like buffer states between India and China. Okay, it's called as five-finger strategy. Again, not needed for general GS, PSIR more or less. So basically, it simply says that there should always be a buffer between India and China. Unfortunately, China have its own philosophy that is called as one mountain, two tigers. That means in a mountain, there cannot be two tigers. There should be only one mountain. Okay, if Asia is considered as a mountain, who is the only threat in Asia to China's rise? India, right? Because by sheer size, China dominates Bangladesh, Bhutan, and all these countries very easily. Russia is more of an ally rather than an enemy. Plus, Russia is not an economic threat to China. If Russia was also doing well like India, politically stable, money is fine, no sanctions, then probably China will have a different strategy towards Russia. But right now, Russia is a weak state. I mean, except for weapons, Russia do not have anything. Okay, but India have people, market, good relations, weapons, growth, future. So India has a lot of opportunity to be a competitor. So China wants to remind the world that I am the only king of Asia. Okay, so that is China's own philosophy, mindset. Next is the colonial mindset. Who created these buffer states? Who encouraged these buffer states? Britishers. The jewel of Britain was India, right? So India is the most prized possession of Britishers. They didn't want any other country to occupy India. So if you see history of India, Japanese almost conquered India. Like Japanese came till northeast. Okay, China had a good influence in Kolkata. That means everybody wanted to dominate India. So the Britishers wanted to create these buffer states so that they will act as a protection mechanism. The same policy is continued by China now. If you see Tibet is a buffer state between India and China. Okay, just beside Ladakh, Aksai Chin, there is a province called as Xinjiang province. Okay, Uyghur Muslims, I told you, right? Recently also we have now. So Xinjiang province, Tibet issue, okay, or Arunachal Pradesh, none of these areas, China have direct influence. China occupied Tibet. Okay, China occupied or China dominated Uyghur Muslims. That means the people in those areas are not totally happy with whom? China. Okay, so China always fears that these people might start uprising. There might lead to a civil war. Okay, why China has such kind of fears? For example, Tibet has a Buddhist philosophy, right? And their leader is Dalai Lama. Where is Dalai Lama? Dalai Lama is in India. Dalai Lama is in India. He's a refugee, right? So China fears that if tomorrow Dalai Lama says Tibet belongs to Tibet, not China, then that might lead to some causes. See, if you win somebody's hearts and mind, you need not fear. Like tomorrow, if somebody comes and tell Andhra Pradesh people that you don't belong to India, nobody cares about that statement. Why? People from Andhra, Telangana, Karnataka, or whatever state, they are beneficiaries of India's greatness, right? Like we are receiving the fruits of being a part of India. So why will I even think of going away from India? Yes or no? There is no logic. But if I go to Tibet and say, Tibetan people, you are being fooled by China, you should not be with China, at least they will think about it. Why? They are not there happily. They are there by force. So this is the biggest fear of China. The buffer states are strength and weakness to China. Why strength? They create a gap between India and China. Why fear? It was occupied, not won. If you win somebody's hearts and minds, that means if you win them by loyalty, they will always be there with you. But if you use force, it creates a problem. So that is what recently we are trying to do in Kashmir also, right? We are trying to win the hearts and minds. We are promoting them tourism. We are providing them employment, skill development, and all these things. That means future generation of Kashmiris should remember India as a part of. They are part of India, and India helps them, not as a enemy. But if you use Armed Forces Special Power Act, kill everybody who says anything against India, then it creates an atmosphere of fear. The same with Naxals also. Rehabilitation programs are more successful rather than encounters. Okay. See, if you encounter someone, what will happen? Somebody from his or her own family will join the Naxalism again. But if you give them rehabilitation, for example, if you give them 10 lakhs to set up a Kirana store or start farming or something, that family will remember you for the rest of their lives. So winning hearts and minds, that is a strategy in itself. Clear? So what was the last point? Chinese salami slicing strategy. Next, strategic encirclement of India. Strategic encirclement of India. What is encirclement? Surrounding India. In the brackets, you can write a string of pearls. 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 String of pearl. Pearl. Gwadar. Hambantota. Yes. Sitwe. Not Sitwe. Technically, from Myanmar all the way to circling India in all directions is strategic encirclement. Next point, military aggression. Military aggression. Example, Galwan. In the brackets, Galwan Valley. Next, growing asymmetry. In economic and military areas. Growing asymmetry in economic and military areas. What is the meaning of the word asymmetry? ASYMMETRY, asymmetry. Then why not call it as unequal? Symmetry means exact. Asymmetry means not exact. Why are we not calling it as equal and unequal? Imbalance. Asymmetry is imbalance. Okay. So why not call it as imbalance? So basically, whenever we compare the similar things, like that is where the imbalance will be brought out, like elephants to elephants, oranges to oranges. So here we are comparing defense budget to defense budget, or let's say economic growth to GDP to GDP. So similar things are compared. Okay. Asymmetry here is gap. The gap is in favor of India or against India? It is clearly against India. For example, if India's defense budget is, let's say, around $60 billion, China is having around 250 billion or 180 billion, anything around 200 billion. And Indian economy is $3 trillion economy, or 3.5. China is $13 to $16 trillion economy. So the gap between us is increasing. That is definitely a threat to India. Next point, China-Pakistan economic corridor. China-Pakistan economic corridor. Yes. Next. Increased footprint. Increased footprint in neighborhood. Increased footprint in neighborhood. How? String of pulses. Okay, already done. Belt and Road Initiative. BRA. BRA plus debt trap diplomacy. BRA plus debt trap diplomacy plus checkbook diplomacy. I will tell you. BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, plus debt trap diplomacy. DBT, debt trap diplomacy, plus checkbook, CHEQBUE, checkbook diplomacy. Okay. So BRI, all of you know, Belt and Road Initiative, it's a infrastructural projects. That means, let's say I'm a Myanmar, I'm a Bangladesh. Then China will come and say, do you need new ports? Do you want to construct new dams, airports, or metro? I will give you money. So investment in infrastructure by China is Belt and Road Initiative. The countries will also be happy. So for example, Myanmar have a metro. That will be a pride for metro. I have a Myanmar people, right? Belt and Road Initiative is simple. Debt trap diplomacy, China, Sri Lankan example I told you, Hambantota port, right? Like I will give you money, you cannot pay interest, you cannot pay the principal, I will occupy that for a long amount of time. Okay. See, the simple difference here is the port will belong to Sri Lanka only, but it will be leased to China for certain amount of years. So who will control it? China. Okay. Next. Checkbook diplomacy, specifically mostly seen in context of Bangladesh. As you might have seen in old Telugu movies, what is the rich father of heroine will do? He will tear a checkbook and he will throw it at the hero's face, right? Blank check, fill whatever number you want. Okay, yes, that is technically checkbook diplomacy. Okay, that means giving freedom to the borrowing nation to borrow any amount of money whenever it needs. For example, Bangladesh says, you know, I might move towards India, then take money. Checkbook diplomacy. So the ability to throw money whenever there is a problem is checkbook diplomacy. Obviously, people who have money will have a lot of friends. Yes or no? No? Next. China is having $50+ billion trade. $50+ billion of trade with India's neighborhood. With India's neighborhood. It also have, next point or continuation, it also have $100+ billion investment . Okay. So $1 billion is equal to 8,000 crores in Indian rupees. Technically speaking, 8,200 crores as of today. Okay. So $1 billion is 8,200 crores. So China has invested $100 billion in India's neighborhood. You can imagine the money. Yes or no? That is CSAT question. GS paper to CSAT. Okay, so that is the amount of money that China is pumping into India's neighborhood. So when such huge amount of monies are given to small countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, their loyalties will be tilted towards China. Okay, next. Aggressive use of Chinese card. Aggressive use of Chinese card by India's neighbors. Aggressive use of Chinese card by India's neighbors. What is Chinese card? CARD card. As a layman, I'm pretty sure most of you are hearing the term for the first time, right? Like Chinese card. What is Chinese card? In your understanding, what can be Chinese card? Yes, there are no wrong answers. Anyhow, all answers are wrong answers, right? Chinese card. Okay. Among what can be Chinese card? Aggressive usage of Chinese card by India's neighbors.
Using the name of China in building up beginning India's relations with India by neighbor.
Almost there. How exactly does that work?
So if you don't provide me financial assistance, then I will take it from China.
Simply put, that is the best way, right? That means, let's say Bangladesh. Bangladesh is getting assistance, friendship money from India. But if Bangladesh feels I'm neglected, I'm not getting enough money from India, then it will say, I will go to China. I will become best friend of China. So China will say, oh yes, please come. And China will give it a lot of money. So this is called as Chinese card. The best case scenario is Maldives. Whenever Maldives feels like, I need more money, it will say, I'm going towards China. Then India will say, okay, I will also give you money. In spite of that, Maldives might still go to China. The thing is, if Chinese card exists, Indian card also exists. That means whenever they are angry on China, they will say, I will go back to India. So the advantage of these sandwich nations or these small nations is they can use both China and India to make them better. Okay, so it works in both ways. If Nepal is moving towards China, India will start luring it. Okay, so that is exactly what Pakistan will do in case of USA and China. USA card and Chinese card. China is getting very closer to Pakistan. So that is why USA came and gave it aircrafts. Okay, you don't want your friend to totally go into somebody else's friendship, right? You still want to maintain some relation. It's like a bribe biscuit. Okay, yes. Chinese card by India, except Bhutan. Probably every other country is using Chinese card. Next. China's wolf warrior diplomacy. China's wolf warrior diplomacy to remind India of Asia's geopolitical hierarchy. Geopolitical hierarchy. No, what is wolf warrior diplomacy? Wolf is fox. So don't mistake wolf and fox, right? Foxy is fox. Machiavellian is foxy. So wolf warrior diplomacy.
Well prepared and tough negotiations.
So all diplomacies will strive for national interest, right? Have you ever heard about wolf? Wolf, all of you know, right? What is wolf called in Telugu? Sure. Okay. Fox is? So what is difference? Wolf is Odelu, right? Yes. Fox is Nakka. Again, this is not biology class, don't worry. So basically, in China, there was a movie called as Wolf Warrior. Way back in China, there is a movie which was released called as Wolf Warrior. So based on that, China framed its own foreign policy called as Wolf Warrior diplomacy. So diplomacy is supposed to be, soft, It is more about dialogue and negotiation, not hard stances. Not hard negotiations, hard stances. That means, let's say somebody criticized you. Okay, you again give back in diplomatic terms. You don't posture in a aggressive way. So wolf warrior diplomacy is more about aggressive stance of China. That means whatever, it's more about PR. Okay. In the sense, for example, if somebody says something about China in anywhere internationally, immediately next day, a editorial should appear, or somebody on behalf of China will write a column saying this is how China is doing, this is why China is doing. That means projecting Chinese side of the story in the way it wanted. Okay, so that aggressiveness in diplomacy is wolf warrior diplomacy. Okay. The thing is that is not the important word in that line. The important word in that line is Asia's geopolitical hierarchy. Geopolitical, geography plus political and hierarchy. Hierarchy means here whatever I told you. Which country is top in Asia? According to China, China is number 1. After China, India or some other country, Russia. So China wants to make it very clear. See, if you see the map, world map, the Asia, Indo-Pacific map, just below China, we have ASEAN countries, Vietnam, Philippines, small countries are there. Okay. Those countries will definitely have fear of China, but they might start losing that fear of China. So if somebody has to be reminded that fear, who is number 2 in Asia? India. So if India can be humbled by China, that means if China can attack India, in spite of knowing China, India is a big country, nuclear country, what guarantees do Philippines or Vietnam have? So they will automatically start fearing China. So whenever China says something against India or be aggressive against India, it is a message that is sent to entire Asia and Southeast Asian communities that behave or this will happen to you next. So if China attacks Philippines, there is no solution for the Philippines, right? Like it cannot defend itself. China is a huge, mighty country. Philippines is a small, tiny island nation. Yes or no? So automatically all these small island nations will think, okay, I should not go to war with China. It's better to be silent. Think about it. Pakistan and China going to a war. Pakistan's size is $300 billion. China's size is $16 billion. Okay. The foreign reserves of China are much bigger than Pakistan's entire economy. Right? So if Pakistan is suffering for 6 months, Pakistan will be literally collapsed. So no, war means money, right? You have to spend money, pay soldiers, feed them. Your economy will collapse. No FDI, no income, no business. Everything will be blocked. You will suffer like anything. But China, it won't affect China even 1%. Okay. So that is what it is. Next. Interfering in India's internal matters. Interfering in internal matters. See again, in civil services or in general formal language, you never use the word foxy. You typically use the word Machiavellian. Niccolo Machiavelli, the person who wrote a book called as Prince. Okay, he was a minister, so he wrote a book called as Prince. It's like our Chanakya. So in Western parlance, whenever you wanted to say somebody is very cunning, deceiving, and all those things, he will say Machiavellian. Okay. Recently, in India we call them as Chanakya, Apara Chanakya. Yes, recent Chanakya, modern day Chanakya, BJP is Chanakya. Everybody is a Chanakya. Political strategies are Chanakyas. So yeah, interfering in India's internal matters. Example, Lavanya will tell us. Arunachal Pradesh. Anything else? Statements about Article 370. So whatever happening in Kashmir also, China tried to give statements. So that is not good for India. See, Kashmir is purely India's internal matter. No country has a right to say whatever it is. Okay. So China should not interfere in India's internal matters. Next. China is blocking India's entry into what? Nuclear Suppliers Group, NSG. Nuclear Supplier Group or Nuclear Supply Group, NSG. What is so special about this group? As you know, there are certain treaties like NPT, Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, or CTBT, Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. You don't have to remember all these things, but simply remember there are certain nuclear agreements in the world which stops proliferation of nuclear technology and nuclear material. That means very few countries in the world have nuclear weapons. Okay, and even lesser countries have nuclear technology. See, there is a difference. Dual use of nuclear technology. Technology is a two-edged sword, right? I can use it for welfare of the people, or I can use it for destruction of the people. If I use nuclear technology for killing people, it is nuclear bombs. If I use nuclear technology for producing energy, that is peaceful usage of nuclear technology. So this nuclear supplier group is a large group, around 40-45 members. What these countries will decide is which country should get nuclear material. For what purposes? For example, if you are a member of NPT, Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, you can transfer nuclear weapon among each other, nuclear technology, nuclear raw materials, uranium, something, just for understanding sake. Okay. But if you are not a member of NPT, if you are a member of NSG, you are eligible to get nuclear material for what? Energy purposes. Okay. This is the advantage. Okay. So this is an important point. Please remember, you don't have to remember everything, but at least remember the macro perspective that nuclear supplier group is important for your prelims. Okay. And India is not a member of NSG. The only country blocking is China. But small twist in the story is, way back in 2008, we have done something called as 1-2-3 nuclear deal with USA. I told you, right? Manmohan Singh has made sure that 2008 nuclear deal is there with USA. In that deal, America pushed everybody to give a waiver to India. That means though India is not a member of NSG group, technically it can receive all the benefits of NSG groups. Okay. In 2008, we promised the world two things. One is military, one is energy. We will bifurcate two separate things. Nuclear power stations or whatever. Okay. IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, it can come and check everything. We will do everything legally. No problem for us. Okay. This is the advantage. But as you know, if somebody has the nuclear raw material, they can also misuse the raw material for creation of weapons. But India is using it only for peaceful purposes. Okay. This you'll understand in context of Iran also. Same to same drama in Iran. Iran is saying that we will use it for energy. But everybody knows if you create energy, you can also create nuclear bombs. So Western countries are afraid that if we give nuclear material to Iran, they might divert some of it to weapon creation. Then Iran will become nuclear superpower. That's not a good thing. So everything is interlinked. Okay, next. China is the only P5 member. China is the only P5, capital P and number 5, capital P5. P5 member which has not endorsed India's permanent membership, which has not endorsed India's permanent membership to UNSC, United Nations Security Council. I assume you know who are the P5 members? P5 countries. Okay. What is so special? In UNSC, there are permanent members, non-permanent members. Permanent members means veto power. There are 5 countries. 5 countries will have veto. That means if any bill is brought, if a country says no, the bill is dropped. Okay, that is the power of veto. USA, Russia, China, France, Britain. USA, China, Russia, France, and Britain. These are 5 countries. These are P5 members. If a bill is brought by any country against any country in UNSC, because UNSC means Security Council, it is the most important body for security of the world. So if tomorrow somebody comes against Russia saying Russia should be punished because Russia is doing war crimes in Ukraine, then Russia will say no. If Russia says no, the bill will be dropped. Why? Russia is a P5 member. Russia have veto. Okay, so India should also be one of those permanent members. P5 should be expanded. That is an entire topic, one day's topic we will discuss UNSC reforms. But simply, China is not happy. The rest of the 4 countries have endorsed India's membership. Which 4 countries? USA, China, Russia, France. Everybody said it's okay for India to be a member of UNSC. But the only country which never said anything is China. But again, all those other countries also are very smart. UNSC reforms will never happen. Okay, or at least not immediately. So that is why they say, oh, okay, take it. No problem. When it happens, that is when the problem happens, right? First of all, we should ban UNSC. Okay. Are we clear on UNSC point? 5 countries, veto power. Veto means saying no. No means no. The bill will be dropped. In newspapers, you will be reading UNSC resolution has been brought against Russia. Russia vetoed it. China vetoed it. So whenever you hear, we are talking about UNSC, Security Council. Last point. Hydropolitics. Hydro means water. Politics means politics. Example, China constructing dams on Brahmaputra River. China constructing dams on Brahmaputra River is hydropolitics. What is Brahmaputra's name in China? Sure. In which state does it enter India? Arunachal Pradesh, not Sikkim. Arunachal Pradesh. Telida? Arunachal Pradesh. But does it go through Bangladesh? Brahmaputra River. Brahmaputra goes through Bangladesh. Okay. Next. China's expansionism. Examples. Let's say first Sri Lanka. A, under that A. What is the name of the port? Write down it. HAMDANTOTA. Hambantota port. Okay. Next B, Bangladesh. Weapons supply. plus line of credit. Line of credit. C. Myanmar. CMEC. CMEC. China Myanmar Economic Corridor. Just like China Pakistan Economic Corridor, China Myanmar also are constructing a economic corridor. Next. D. Maldives. %70 of Maldives, 70% of debt is owned by China. Is owned by China. 70% of debt, DVT debt is owned by China. That means if Maldives have 100 rupees of debt, who gives 70 rupees? China. We can understand how deeply Maldives is indebted to China. Okay, next. Nepal. Infrastructural investments. Infrastructural investments and agreements. And agreements. Okay. And Afghanistan not needed, but Afghanistan, you know minerals, right? You remember minerals. You don't have to write. If you can remember minerals, that's fine. No need to write. Next. Pakistan CPEC, I mean, that is something that you will not forget, right? But CPEC is very easy. Convergence. 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 Pakistan militarization, CPEC. Pakistan is nothing but a colony of China right now, according to Christine Fair. So you can write every dimension, every negative dimension you can add there. Now, convergence. Point A. Panchsheel Treaty. (1954). Next. Panchsheel 1954. Next. Agreement on peace. Agreement on peace and tranquility on border. Agreement on peace and tranquility in the border. 1993. Peace and tranquility on border. So this is a single biggest landmark agreement between India and China from 1993 all the way till 2021 till Galwan mostly. Okay, we had a very stable kind of relation with China, though we had some skirmishes, but we never had a problem with border in relation to China because of the 1993 border peace and tranquility agreement. That is both blessing and a problem. Why blessing? Because after 1993 agreement till 2020, we were happily ignoring the border issue. India was never putting pressure on China to solve the border problem. We had some solution. We agreed, right? Like let it rest. So we ignored the border problem. But thanks to China's adventurism in Galwan, we finally woke up saying we will never settle problem with China unless we have a permanent boundary. Next. Border Defense Cooperation Agreement 2013. Border Defense Cooperation Agreement 2013. Okay. Bilateral summits. bilateral summits and visits. Next point, mutual interest. Mutual interest in WTO, climate change, and counter-terrorism. WTO, climate change, and counter-terrorism. These are the common areas of interest between India and China. Next heading, trade. Mutual interest on climate change. Interest in the sense, say they also want to work on reducing carbon emissions. We are also interested in working carbon emissions. So mutual interest in climate change means wherever we are working on climate change, they are also interested. See, there is no planet B, right? Like we only have one planet, so everybody have a common interest. So whenever I say climate change, that means everybody wants to reduce carbon emissions. Everybody wants to move towards electric vehicles. How far is it true? In Shanghai Cooperation Organization, we meet. There is a concept called as RATS. Okay. So basically, it's an institutional mechanism which says that terrorism should not be promoted. And China says yes, India will also say yes. Again, okay. That's all. You can justify that point by saying China voted against the UNSC resolution. Masood Azad and others have been declared as terrorists. So China is doing its job, at least on terroristic front.
We could not designate him as global terrorist just because of China.
But sanctions have been imposed. Half victory. Next, trade. India's total trade with China was $125.7 billion. $125.7 billion in 2021. In 2021, of which $97.5 billion. $97.5 billion is import or export? Imports. So the trade balance is skewed against India or in favor of India? It is against India. That means of $125 billion, $100 billion we have only imported. Only $25 billion worth of goods have been exported to China. So China is benefiting from our relationship rather than India benefiting with China. So that's a huge problem. Okay. Next. Next point. The realization of over dependency on China led to demand for alternative supply chains. Yes. What is alternative supply chain? Anything that promotes manufacturing within the country and creates a export mechanism against China. That means all that goods that are coming from China will now be produced in India, and companies are planning to invest in India so that India will be the exporter to the world. Recently, iPhone production will be started in India. So make in India is happening at a rapid speed thanks to alternative supply chain mechanisms. Okay. You can also write one more point. India along with Japan and Australia. India along with Japan and Australia has started. India along with Japan and Australia have started supply chain resilience initiative. Supply chain resilience initiative. SCRI, supply chain resilience, RESILIENCE. SCRI, supply chain resilience initiative. Okay, what is SCRI? Supply chain resilience initiative. That means we are trying to create alternative supply chains which are resilient. Resilience means which will withstand any kind of difficulty, any problem. So if tomorrow COVID pandemic is there, if China imposes economic sanctions, we will have supply chains which are resilient to all these kinds of problems. Okay, and India being a good country will not weaponize supply chains. At least that is hope. Have you heard of a quote called as power corrupts, absolute power corrupts? Absolutely. Okay. So if tomorrow India becomes a $10 trillion, do you think India will stay this humble again? Or will India will also become like China? Do you think India will not change? Sure. Right? So the other day, I think someone, I don't know who, maybe Pradeep or someone was asking, India does not vote against individual resolutions. So that is what probably he read in the newspapers, right? So India did not vote against China. So in UNHRC, India abstained from voting against China in relation to Uyghur Muslims. Then India's response was, India follows a tradition that we don't vote against individual countries. So India does not vote in resolutions which are put against one particular country, targeting one country. Okay. So we abstained against Sri Lanka. We did not vote against China. We also abstained there. But just yesterday, India voted a resolution in favor of Afghanistan and voted a favor against Ethiopia. Okay. So if China and Pakistan are countries, Afghanistan and Ethiopia are also countries, right? The same country in the same month voted in two different stances in two different ways. And in one place we are saying we don't vote against resolutions against individual countries. But when it came to Afghanistan and Ethiopia, we voted against individual countries. So what does that tell you? Countries matters, right? If it is big country, if China, if you vote in favor of China or against China, it will affect your interest immediately. If you vote against Ethiopia, nothing will happen to you. Okay. First of all, if UPSC aspirants don't know that we voted against Ethiopia, 99% Indians will never know. Yes or no? Matter over. So power. When power comes to you, it decides. Like if you are very powerful in context of Afghanistan and Ethiopia, we have a different stand. When it comes to Sri Lanka and China, again, power numbers change. Because Sri Lanka can affect your interests. Yes. China, definitely yes. So it's better to be safe there. In Ethiopia, nothing will happen. Yes or no? Again, India has taken the right stance. I'm not criticizing India as a stand in Afghanistan or in Ethiopia. But what I'm trying to tell you is, don't believe whatever you see in the newspapers or whatever India says. We do vote against independent nations. But again, it's a rarity. We don't do that on a daily basis because whenever we vote, we will be let's say against Russia or China. In such cases, abstaining is the best policy. So what have you written till now? Issues, right? Way forward. Again, this is just for basic idea. What is happening with China, you should know in 2022. That's all. I'm not going into backgrounds. So after Galwan incident, India have adopted after Galwan incident, India have adopted a hard stance saying that settling border issue is a priority. Under that point A, the military and economic responses were swift and decisive. So what happened after Galwan Valley? Immediately after Galwan Valley, India have sent its military. Okay, India sent its military and we have occupied the heights. So whenever there is a valley, if you are occupying the height, it's easy for you to dominate the valley. So whoever occupies the hills dominates the valleys. Common sense, right? Like uphill battle is always difficult. Okay, so if you're on the top, it's easy for you to see the enemy coming towards you. But if you're on the bottom, it's very hard for you to climb the slope. Okay, so India swiftly moved its military. You have to understand psychology here. Okay, from 2000 to 2020, India had a timid nature. Timid nature means we were, first of all, we didn't have a plan. We'll laugh when I say, till 2008, India never bothered to construct border roads with China. Till 2008, it's not like 1960, right? 2008, very recently only. Till 2008, India didn't have a plan to construct even border roads with China. So if we have a war with China, how will you send the goods? We didn't think that far. We always assumed we will not have a war with China. Being pragmatic is one thing, having a theory is one thing. The best case scenario is never have a war. Okay, but if a war happens, you should be ready. How will you move your troops? We don't have roads. Okay, that was how bad India's planning was. Okay, only in 2008 we started doing all these things. Obviously, by that time, China has done all its groundwork. China has rails, roads, everything. Tomorrow with India, China is ready with infrastructure. India is not having the infrastructure. When we started constructing, China started crying. Why are you constructing roads now? Are you having plans to attack us? And all these things. The same thing China have done. Then we didn't say anything. That was our foolishness, their smartness. Okay. The summary here is India was always timid. That means why provoke China? Why fight with China? Okay. Let's say there was Quad after 2004, all the 4 countries came together. I told you, right? USA, Japan, India, Australia. Their navies came together and helped the Indian Ocean region. So they thought, why not convert this into some program? Okay. So they were planning nicely. Then one day China came and said, Quad is like Asian NATO. You are trying to dominate the Indian Ocean and suppress me. You are trying to suffocate my growth. Then India said, okay, you are offended. Then Australia, you are not invited to Malabar exercises. That means we stopped inviting Australia to Quad exercises or other military exercises. So we were respecting China's wishes. You understand the concept, right? We were always afraid to offend anything that offends China. So this was our nature. Okay, if America says, come closer to us, okay, China will get offended. I don't want to do that. Everything we give priority to China. In spite of giving all this respect, China did not live up to its neighborly expectations. They backstabbed us in Galwan incident. 22 innocent Indian soldiers were killed unnecessarily because of Chinese provocation. Okay, so this led to a clear-cut idea that China is, working for its own selfish interest. It will never be good to India. No matter how good you are to China, China will never be good to India. The only solution is permanent border. And please be very clear, China-India border is not a geographical problem. We have the best satellites in the world. We can even take American satellite helps to clearly demarcate a boundary with centimeters also. Not even kilometers. With that accurately we can create a map. But the problem is, it's a political problem. India-China border is a political problem, not a geographical problem. In 1960s, it was a geographical problem. We did not have the technology. In 2022, we have the technology. Okay, so if anybody says it's a geographical problem, it's not the case. Okay. Second, so after realizing this, we were working on one thing, that is permanent boundary. Okay, China does not want that. We requested status quo. That means before Galwan incident, how was the map? We want that kind of map. Along with that, we need a permanent solution. So this is what India is pushing for. Okay, what China is saying is separate these two things. Okay, that means border issue is border issue. Rest all issues we will work together, because we don't have any issue with China apart from border issue, right? Trade we can continue, business we can continue, imports exports we can continue, supply we can continue. So China is smartly asking, forget borders. We will continue the rest of the trade happily. Everything will be normal. Why? $100 billion is coming from India to China every year. But the money is very small. It's around 3% of overall China's trade. Okay, it's like minuscule. If China is doing 100 rupees trade, only 3 rupees it is doing with India. Okay, it's not a big deal for China. But still, why lose that 3 rupees also? Or at least same time, why lose respect in Asia? If China and India are fighting, then countries will have an option. Okay, should I join China camp or India camp? So China do not want to give this kind of opportunities. Then India said nothing doing. Border issue and other issues are interlinked. If you want other issues to be solved, solve border issue first. But what China is saying is separate them. If you separate them, what happens again? Business as usual. We will continue the business. China will keep occupying Indian territory. Nothing doing. Both are interlinked. So this is the military response that India is giving. And one more last thing is, we were always afraid to send our Air Force or something. Not afraid in the sense to unnecessarily provoke. Let's say our aircraft to Ladakh region or Aksai-Chin region and all these things. What India recently done is, it has literally sent the MiGs to the Ladakh just for sightseeing. It's a message that is sent to China that, if you try to occupy these areas, our Air Force is capable to attack these areas also. So be very careful. So indirectly, we are sending a lot of messages very clearly to China that no longer business as usual is okay. Okay. Not only this, we invited Australia also to join the military exercises. So India is no longer saying, I will offend China. If I'm offending China, I'm happy. Earlier, we were afraid to offend China. Now we are happy to offend China. That is a mindset change that happened in India because of China. Galwan incident. Okay. In the same way, we had something called as Make in India in 2015. Okay, we had something called as Make in India in 2015. In 2020, we announced something called as Atmanirbhar Bharat. Okay, Atmanirbhar Bharat is Hindi version of Make in India. But the advantage of Atmanirbhar Bharat is two. One is, many companies want to vacate China and come to other parts of the world. Okay, India is providing that opportunity. The world market is changing, and India also woken up that just like Make in India, we started and ignored. We should continue Atmanirbhar Bharat. So if you open Nitin Gadkari's Twitter page right now, you will see that Mercedes-Benz has, for the first time, created an entirely Make in India car. Okay, that means earlier Benz used to assemble in India. We were not Make in India, we were assemble in India. Right now, we are Make in India. A LED TV totally made in India. A car made in India. Okay, electric vehicles made in India. So that there is a huge push towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. Okay, thanks to China's adventurism, India has finally woke up that we need to do all these things. If it was not for China, probably we wouldn't have pursued Make in India. Even right now, Apple phones, Pixel phones, okay, many major names in telecom industry are planning to work in India. At the same time, Indian security agents like ED, CBI, they are attacking Xiaomi offices. If you see, Xiaomi phone, MI company was attacked. I mean, attacked in the sense they were raided for the income tax. Okay, or Oppo company. So we are discouraging Chinese mobile companies. Okay, at the same time, we are encouraging production of other variants. So everything is working against China and in favor of India. So this is high time that India take the advantage. So this is economic shift and military shift. Luckily, Atmanirbhar Bharat is here to stay. Tomorrow, if some other country comes also, they will be happy to invest in India. One more program is Product Linked Incentive Scheme, PLI. That means you are a German company. You want to come and set up shop in India. You produce certain amount of goods. We will give you discount, tax free. That means we are encouraging more and more companies to come and set up shop in India. We are creating that ecosystems. Right now, many Indians are buying electric vehicles. So there will be demand for electric vehicles. Nitin Gadkari is promoting electric vehicles. So all these things combined are changing the balance in favor of India. Okay. So this is the advantage of China's adventurism. This is our response. Military plus economic response is more aggressive. Okay. Along with this, we banned Chinese apps. We banned a lot of Chinese apps. Yes or no? With Pakistan, we ban cricket. With China, we ban apps. Simple. Any confusions? Any questions? So what was the last topic? We have briefly summarized China relations, right? Like 1 page, 1.5 page, 2 pages. No, if you go back to that question, 2017 question, what is the question? China is using its economic relations and positive trade surplus as a tool to potentially develop military power status in Asia. In the light of this statement, discuss its impact on India and her neighbors, or discuss its impact on India as her neighbor. So how is China using its money power to control its neighbors? Okay, and what is the direct or indirect impact that India have? This is just one part of the story. The other part of the story is Indo-Pacific. When we discuss Indo-Pacific, it will make more sense to you. Because as I said, no single country is complete. Everything is interlinked. Next, again, as I said, leave one page for China. When we cover Indo-Pacific, it will add some data. So next page, you can write Bangladesh. One sheet is enough. We can start there. Right. See, Bangladesh is a positive example for boundaries or borders. With every other country, we have issue with the neighbors. But with Bangladesh, we have a positive story. What is that positive story? First of all, we created Bangladesh. 1971 war. India liberated East Pakistan from West Pakistan and helped the creation of Bangladesh. Okay. So who is father of Bangladesh? Ever heard? Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Okay, so he's called as father of Bangladesh. So in 1971, what happened is when India was partitioned, on the left hand side we had West Pakistan, on the right hand side we had East Pakistan, and there was a strange demand by Nizam of Hyderabad. He wanted a 200-kilometer corridor from Hyderabad all the way to Pakistan. So he wanted a road in the middle of the country so that there can be 3 Pakistans, right? But Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel convinced him the other way, and he joined India, but we couldn't convince the Pakistan. The partition happened, West Pakistan and East Pakistan. The problem with East Pakistan is it is more linguistic dominated region. That means Bangla, the language is more a important factor rather than the religion. Okay. Immediately after the death of Jinnah, which is 1 year of Pakistan's creation, it fell more or less into the hands of the Pakistan military. Zia-ul Haq and others came, and slowly Pakistan transformed into a military state from a political state. Then the West Pakistan started attacking East Pakistan. Persecution of minorities, persecution of others, killings, and all these things have happened. So that is when India decided to enter into creation of Bangladesh. So if you create a country, it is technically expected that it should be loyal to the creator. So India and Bangladesh relations are very strong from that factor point of view, goodwill point of view. Okay, not only that, whereas West Pakistan is failing state right now, East Pakistan is a story of success. If you look at Bangladesh, its per capita income is better than India. Its health indicators are improving. Its industrialization is good. So Bangladesh is a shining example of success and development, whereas Pakistan is an example of failed state, military, terrorism, and all these things. Bangladesh development, Pakistan failure. So you can showcase it in that perspective also. So these are all the special points of Bangladesh. And as I showed you in the map, except for a part of Myanmar, Bangladesh is more or less India locked. That means Bangladesh is totally dependent on India. Though it's a good thing and a bad thing. Why a good thing? Because it shares one of the largest boundaries with India. Almost on all the sides, it has India. Okay, and it also comes into the Indian Ocean, the Bay of Bengal, right? Like again, there is a Indian domination. So Bangladesh is heavily dependent on India. Clear? Then write down the first point, borders. India settled land and maritime issues. India settled land and maritime issues with Bangladesh peacefully. Stop. The porous borders led to illegal migration and trafficking. Now, as all of you know, what is the difference between a migrant and a refugee? What is difference between a migrant and a refugee?
Forcing by the circumstances or the conditions in the nation. Migrant is his own, depending on his development.
So migrants are illegals. Migrants are legal. Refugees are illegal. Migrant with his own will, he comes. Refugee circumstances make him move. Okay, refugee is forced to leave, or migrant is Okay. In both the cases, there are legal and illegal. Mostly refugees are victims of circumstances. That means most of the times a refugee is someone who is escaping a particular area because of a circumstance situation. Mostly it's about ethnic violence, racism, religion, caste, or something. Recently, climate change. If somebody is escaping a part of the world to move to a better place, he's a climate refugee. Rohingyas are refugees. Tibetans are refugees. So they were escaping Chinese military. Rohingyas are escaping Myanmar's military. Tamils in Sri Lanka are escaping Sinhalese attacks. So everyone who moves to this country because of fear of death or something is called as a refugee. Refugees are not coming to your country willingly. Okay, internally also there can be refugees, internally displaced people. Okay, whereas migrant is someone, as they were pointing out in the chat box, who are voluntarily coming to a part of the world on their own admission. Okay, migrants can be legal and illegal. If you go to USA on visa, you are a migrant. Okay, but if you stay beyond the visa, you become illegal migrant. Okay, so illegal migrant is who can come through a official route but stay beyond the hospitality. He is also an illegal migrant. Or if someone crosses the border without your permission, let's say Bangladeshi came to India by crossing a river, he is an illegal migrant. Okay, not a refugee, illegal migrant. He came through visa, but he stayed beyond visa. Then also he is illegal migrant. Okay, so that is the difference, major difference. Migrants are looking for better life. Most migrants are looking for better life. So all of us are technically migrants. We all came out of Africa looking for better life outside Africa. So everybody is a migrant going to the roots. Okay, but modern day, after the states and all these things, refugee and migrants. So now the problem with Bangladesh is there are two batches. One is 1971 war refugees. When 1971 persecution was happening, people are being killed in Bangladesh. Where did they escape to? They escaped to India. They are refugees. Refugees are welcome. India said, okay, come to India. No problem. But what was our expectation? After the war stopped, you will go back. That is one hope. So Dalai Lama is the most famous refugee. He came in 1950s. In 2022 also, is here. Okay, so that is a problem with refugees. If you say you are welcome here, you have to bear them. Okay. Then after 1971 war, lot of Bangladeshis started settling in the northeast part of India. For example, in Assam and other places, their families, their family members, slowly everybody started migrating to India. So the problem with Bangladesh right now is illegal migration. Illegal migration is such a huge problem that once upon a time Assam was a Hindu dominated state, like Hindus were majority. Then slowly it changed to a Muslim majority state. That is a demographic change, not entire Assam, some districts in Assam specifically. Okay, that means the areas which share border with the district which share border with Bangladesh, they are starting to change the demography. That means Muslims or other people have started increasing in numbers. Around huge number of population came into India. Okay, so that is a problem with illegal migration. Okay, but that is happening because of porous borders. Porous borders means borders which are having a permeability. That means you can come through. Technically speaking, there are around 54 navigable rivers between India and Bangladesh. If there are 54 rivers at the night, let's say at 10 p.m. or something during monsoon season, if you cross the border, you came to India, that's it. Okay. Yeah. Just technically, next point. In 2015, they exchanged 111 enclaves, 111 enclaves in land boundary agreement. In land boundary agreement. Okay. So there were enclaves between India and Bangladesh. It was like no man's land. So India and Bangladesh finally settled it. Next. India India settled maritime boundary issue by accepting a international tribunal verdict. In favor of Bangladesh. In favor of Bangladesh. That means India and Bangladesh had a border issue, maritime border. Okay, we went to an international tribunal and the tribunal gave the judgment in favor of Bangladesh. In spite of this, India accepted the judgment. Okay. Way back in 2014-15 times, Raja Mohan writes a wonderful article. He says, India should not be worried about all these trivial issues, because if you lose 1 or 2 kilometers or 10 kilometers of maritime, there is nothing that you will lose. But if you don't settle all these issues with Bangladesh, you are losing Bangladesh to China. So for 10 kilometers of land or for 10 enclaves, you are actually losing Bangladesh to China. But if you solve issues with Bangladesh, Bangladesh will be a long-term friend. So we need its friendship more than these 10 kilometers. So focus on bigger things rather than trivial things. So he indirectly said, don't miss forest for the trees. Okay. So that is how it is. Next, last point, 54 transboundary rivers between them. Transboundary rivers between them. So these are all border issues. Technically speaking, in internal security, you will learn one more fact, that around 90% of India-Bangladesh border has been fenced. That means there is no way to enter into India. 90% of the land has been covered. Okay, very few areas are covered. And one more suggestion that Raja Mohan suggests, or many experts suggest, is work permits rather than visas. See, for example, many people come to Hyderabad from in and around Hyderabad, like 100 kilometers or 60 kilometers away from Hyderabad. They take the early morning bus or train, they come to Hyderabad, work, and in the evening they go back. Yes or no? So that means if there is an opportunity up to 100 kilometers, people are willing to travel for a better livelihood opportunity. So if you see the Bangladesh border, majority of it is covered with Indian cities, like whole of Indian states. Yes or no? So if you give them work permits, that means you give a Bangladeshi citizen a work permit. That means he can come to India from Monday to Saturday morning times. He will work in India and he has to go back to Bangladesh. Right now, why are people illegally coming? We don't have this system. He has to come to India to work and he has to stay in India. He cannot keep on crossing every day, right? It's not a small fence. It's a very risky thing. Will be shot dead. Yes. So if we encourage the work permit culture, then the migration will technically stop. At the same time, we will get cheap labor. The entire problem will be solved, right? The areas will grow, and wherever the money flows, automatically relations will get stronger. So work permits is a much logical solution rather than visas. And if the proximity is very less, what's the harm? And you can enforce a stricter checking and all these things also. If somebody is coming into India, going back into India, it's easy to check them. We can use technology. Again, that is what I said, right? Like work permits has to be enforced. It is a collaboration between Bangladesh and India. See, if drugs are coming into India, drugs can go from India to Bangladesh also. So it's a joint collaboration between Bangladesh and India, where we have to enforce stricter norms. I think this is a lesser headache than the present headache, because the present headache is migration. They're here to settle. Not only they will have Aadhaar cards, they will have PAN cards, they will have voter ID cards, they have everything already. So if crores, if not lakhs, okay, if 30 to 40 lakh Bangladeshis are definitely in India, minimum. And if you think about it, that probably that is like lakhs of Rohingyas are already in India. Even in Hyderabad, you can find Rohingyas. So if Rohingyas can find a way all the way to Hyderabad, don't you think Bangladeshis are settled all over the country? So that's a long-term problem. I think technology will help to an extent, Pradeep. I'm pretty sure that smuggling will happen, but at least it can be regularized. Again, these are all just ideas for writing. That's all. Yeah. Next. Threats and issues. Threats and issues. Already you have written migration, right? You can write refugees. You can write refugees. For example, refugees from Myanmar came to Bangladesh, from then Bangladesh to India. Rohingyas came through Bangladesh into India. So that is again a problem for India. Okay. Next, smuggling of arms, narcotics, fake Indian currencies, cattle, women, children, organs, trafficking. Trafficking is a huge problem. Even today, if you open any YouTube channel and type West Bengal and Bangladeshi migrants, you'll find a lot of videos showing how cattle smuggling is still happening in India-Bangladesh borders, or how trafficking happens of women, children, organ trafficking is there, drugs come into India. It's next to impossible to stop all these activities. But the simple understanding is, whenever there is a stability, peace, and money, people will discourage all these activities. Imagine economic activity happening all over the border of India and Bangladesh, and India and Bangladesh is stopping these work permits because, let's say, 10 kg heroin has been found. Do you think the normal people will encourage economic activity or drugs? A lot of people are getting a lot of money because of economic activity. If all of them are suffering because of one culprit, then they will inform the police like this person is doing the wrong activities. Okay, so money has that kind of power. Okay, but economic activity should definitely be there. If it is just border, it will be like Mexico and USA border. It will become a corrupt hell. Mexican border and American border is one of the most corrupt places in the world. Why? A lot of drugs are produced in Mexico and that comes to USA. USA is one of the largest consumer of drugs. Mexico is one of the largest producer of drugs. So only border is there, then it will become a corrupt practice. But if you have economic activity in and around the border, if the villages just around the border are prospering because of normal businesses, then they will make sure that all these activities are not encouraged. That is a big difference.
So, but 95% of the border is fenced. From where does this all
Again, fence means what? It's not like, you know, a 40-foot wall in the what we see in Game of Thrones, right? It's just a 12 feet. I can use drones. See, if you see Bangladesh, for example, bamboo, you know, the size of the table, 10 bamboos will be stitched together. Okay, and it will be floating in the India-Bangladesh between rivers. Okay, and if you stop it below it, you will find drugs. You don't have humans to carry it. Somebody in Bangladesh will tell, I have released a bamboo raft. Okay, below it 10 kg heroin is there. Okay, you know which area the raft will be coming. You will be waiting there in Indian side. You will stop it. How will the BSF stop the raft? It's next to impossible, right? Like even cattle are smuggled in the same way. You know, cattle will be tied under the raft. For example, if there are two bamboo sticks, between the bamboo sticks, the head of the cow will be visible. It is like literally just taking the air. Rest of the entire cow is under the raft. Okay, it cannot drown. At the same time, it is not happy, but it is being smuggled. So innovations, right? Like people will do anything just to survive. So money corruption is a huge problem there. things. Next. Radicalization and anti-Indian elements. Radicalization and anti-Indian elements are on the rise. Right? See, and one more thing you have to remember as a bureaucrat, as a potential bureaucrat, is this: no idea is perfect, right? There can never be a perfect idea. It is next to impossible. At least in practical life, that is not possible. Why? If you do something, the enemy will also try to get better. If India is constructing 90% of the fences, the enemy has upgraded himself to drones. Okay, now we need fences with drone stopping capabilities or drone detecting capabilities. You can never sleep happily. You always have to work hard. Democracy is a work in progress. It's never a destination. Okay, all these are utopian ideas. I mean, they will never be implemented at the ground level. But having an idea, you will keep on slowly improving them. For example, when voter ID card was introduced, the idea was to stop fake votes. Like anybody can put my photo on a voter ID card, go and say, this is me, and he can vote. That was the idea of voter ID card. Then what happened? In spite of voter ID cards, people are having fake votes. Okay, a lot of fake votes are being banned. Then they brought in VVPAT. I mean, EVMs, VVPAT. Now, slowly, after 15, 20 years of introduction of voter ID card, they are thinking about facial recognition voter-based cards. In Telangana, they have conducted this facial recognition voter ID. That means you should be like, just like in your Aadhaar card, your biometrics you should match. Then slowly linking of Aadhaar and your voter ID will happen. So 10 years down the line, when voting happens in India, there will be no fake votes. Why? Everything is biometrically linked. But it took around 25 years for this entire idea to become better. So in democracy terms, 25 years is nothing. 25 years is very fast actually. Okay, so if tomorrow we allow, let's say, Bangladeshis to come to India for work permit, it will take 25 years for democracy to perfect that system. But 25 years later, you won't have that problem. You will have new problems. So every idea in democracy will have tens of issues. That is what we call as bounded rationality. That means even if you do all the good things with the right intentions, still problems will be there. Bounded rationality. That means only within your limited capacity you will see. Beyond your capacity, you cannot see, right? So if I put a fence, did I expect that bamboo rafts will be used for corruption? No. Tomorrow I have to stop the bamboo rafts. After that, people will get smarter. Okay, they might start using drones. How will I stop drones? Again, it's a costly thing for me. Let's say I stop with drones. Don't you think they will innovate something else? So no. So the crime does not sleep. So does the policing. So you'll always have to get better and better and better. They will also try to do the things. One day in the long run, if all the Bangladeshis and Indians understand that drugs are wrong, okay, things are good, then there will be a nice thing. You know, the funny thing is legalizing drugs. Okay, there is a demand all over the world to legalize drugs. For example, marijuana, what we call as ganja. Okay, in USA, marijuana is a huge problem. A lot of drugs come into USA. So the only solution that people can think of is legalizing marijuana. If everything is available in supermarkets, just like, you know, soaps, detergents, marijuana, then why should I import from Mexico? At least I know how much marijuana is being sold legally. I can collect the taxes. So the world is moving to a stage where instead of fighting drugs, they are adapting drugs, but in a limited way. Okay, if alcohol can cause death, okay, so can drugs. If alcohol legally sold, then why can't drugs? So this is called as, paternalistic welfare. That means like a father, you are saying, okay, one peg only, two peg only. Okay. In the same way, drugs also, marijuana only. That is a problem. Fighting drugs is a never-ending game. If America cannot do it, no country can do that. But the best way is to limit it to legalizing those. Behavioral changes. In school level also, you have to teach them drugs are bad and all these things. Again, utopian, right? People will always be addicted. Okay. I hope you got the summary. Fighting all these things is very difficult, but not impossible. But we need political capital. We need money, efforts. Who have all the time? We want to watch Zabardast. We have new trailers. Yes or no? Movies releasing every Friday. So people have so much other work. No? So nobody's bothered about national issues. So the point you have written is radicalization and anti-Indian elements. Radicalization means brainwashing technically. If somebody is washing your brain to hate a particular community, that is called as radicalization. So Islamic radicalization means Islam is a neutral stance. That means Islam do not promote hate, but the extreme interpretation of Islam promotes hate. Extreme interpretation of Hinduism promotes hate. Today, Pratap Bhanumaita wrote an article in Indian Express. He argues the same point. Hinduism, the Sanatana Dharma, do not have any problem with anything. Hinduism is a new construct. Sanatana Dharma is age old. Okay, so if Islam is saying that you should kill kafirs, that means those who believe in idol worshippers are wrong, idol worshippers should be killed, etc., then that is radicalization. So radicalization is a problem, and that is increasing in Bangladesh. That will spill over into India. Why? In Bangladesh also there are a lot of Hindus. They are being targeted because they are Hindus. In Pakistan also a lot of Hindus are being killed. Why? Because they are Hindus. In India also you have recently seen the Tyler, what is his name? Udaipur incident where a Tyler was beheaded. He was killed because he supported Nupun Sharma. Okay, so all these things are radicalization. Okay. Yes. Next, underutilized inland waterways. Underutilized inland waterways. Underutilized inland waterways. As you can see, inland waterways means the rivers within the country. In India also, in Kerala we have a lot of rivers. In Madhya Pradesh we have rivers. So if somebody from West Bengal has to go to, let's say, Tripura or Manipur, he has to go through entire U-turn, right? Like he has to go all the way across Bangladesh. It's like taking a U-shape from West Bengal to, let's say, Tripura. It's like a U-shape. He has to travel all across Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a different country. But if we have good relations with Bangladesh and we take the help of Bangladesh inland waterway, we can literally go in a straight line. So that reduces the distance by hundreds of kilometers. Okay, so that is the advantage of inland waterways. Trade can also happen. Say for example, someone from Sikkim or Assam wants to come to Bay of Bengal. Okay, if there is a connectivity, he can directly enter into Bay of Bengal. Right now, what happens? He again has to come all the way till Kolkata, from Kolkata to Bay of Bengal. So this underutilization of inland waterways is a problem between India and Bangladesh. Okay, and most common issue, Teesta water issue. Teesta, T-E-E-S-T-A, Teesta water issue. Okay. No. See, you can do PhDs on all these topics, or you can just remember the basic summary. Common sense is more powerful than anything else, right? So, what is the Teesta water issue? Or let's say Kaveri, forget Teesta water issue. Kaveri water issue. Kaveri is the issue between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Okay. Let's imagine 100 liters of water flows between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. 100 liters of water. Tamil Nadu will say, I will keep 45%. Karnataka can keep 55%. This is a normal agreement. For how much? 100 liters of water. So every year 100 liters of water will flow. 45 will be kept by Tamil Nadu, which is on the top, in the bottom, like 55, 45, whatever. Then Karnataka will keep some amount of money. This is agreed upon. Fine, everything is happy. Now imagine rains are not coming as regularly as they are expected to. So the 100 liters of water which normally used to flow suddenly became 50 liters. Okay. Why did Tamil Nadu agree for 45 liters? Assuming every year 100 liters will come, within that 45 liters will be mine. So my requirement is 45 liters. So the same 45 liters is converted into a percentage point, 45%. Okay. Now, suddenly it became 50%. So you will still get your 45% share. But what is the amount of water you are getting? half of what your expected requirement is. So that is where the problems come. That means as long as water is flowing in the expected pattern, no issues between two states or two countries. When the water levels change, that is a problem. In Teesta also, if every year 100 liters of water flows between India and Bangladesh, 70 liters will flow only in monsoon season. That means in June, July, August, or July, August, September, during those 3 months, 70 liters of water will flow. The rest of the 9 months, only 30 liters of water will flow. When during monsoon season, everything is flowing, nobody has an issue. Bangladesh will get its share, India will get its share. Actually, we will allow everything to flow into Bay of Bengal, right? Why? We cannot hold that much amount of water in less amount of time. Okay. What about the remaining 9 months? Let's say from September till next May. So September to May, the entire 9 months or more or less, they have to share the 30 liters of water. India will say, or West Bengal will say that 30 liters is needed for my farmers. Bangladesh will say, my farmers need it. So it is a very sensitive issue between India and Bangladesh. The problem is flow of water. Can anybody change that flow of water? No. I mean, monsoon is monsoon, right? Like we are monsoon dependent nation. It will come in monsoon season only. But still, if we can come to some consensus, that will be a very nice issue. I hope you will remember the story. Yes. And lastly, Citizenship Amendment Act. Citizenship Amendment Act has also become became issue. Okay, Citizenship Amendment Act. We will explain this article, Citizenship Amendment Act drama in some other class. But remember, simply, it's an act about citizenship. India is saying Bangladeshi citizens are not welcome. Bangladesh is saying these are not my citizens. So India is saying a group of people do not belong to India. Bangladesh is also saying these people don't belong to me. They are like nowhere people. They don't belong to India. They don't belong to Bangladesh. Then, but still they are in India. India has to feed them. India has to provide them welfare and all those things. It's a burden. Next, rising Chinese investments. Rising Chinese investments influence and checkbook diplomacy. Yes, checkbook diplomacy. Next, convergence. This area, all of you know. First point, convergence of first point ending. 1971 Bangladesh crisis and liberation. 1971 Bangladesh crisis and liberation. Next point, crucial for Northeast integration. Crucial for Northeast integration. Okay. Is Northeast integrated with India? Yes or no? Okay. So how many of you have a friend from Northeast?
Someone. But some of them.
Okay. Apart from your colleges, like how many of you have friends from Northeast? Okay. How? Okay. Okay. There you met. Like apart from job and all those things, normally you don't meet. Like not, and forget about SSB interview. If that didn't happen, do you think you would have made a friend with Northeast person? Okay, how many of you have friends from Karnataka? Okay, Tamil Nadu. Yes. Okay, Madhya Pradesh. Yes. Okay. Yes. The thing is, either by sheer education or accident, you may, see that the question itself is an insult, right? In a way, I mean, why do you have a friend from a Northeast? As if I'm asking someone from Pakistan. The Northeast is also a part of India, but we can hardly recollect 3, 4, probably 5 names maximum whom we know of from Northeast. That clearly shows that we are not properly integrated with the Northeast. The mainstreaming has not happened. And even if we see Northeast people, we stereotype them, right? Like most of them work in some restaurant or some nursing. There is a limited scope where you find a Northeast person. You don't see them on a daily basis. Okay. So again, the summary here is the integration of Northeast is still a huge issue. And without Bangladesh, we cannot achieve it totally. So Bangladesh is very crucial for integration of Northeast. Even the person, even my friend from Northeast is because of UPSC preparation only. If it was not for UPSC, probably I don't have a single friend from Northeast. Okay, at least some things are making us friends with others, but more things should be there. So more means more business, more connectivity, tourism, trade, and all these things will bloom like anything. Okay, next. Important for maritime security. Important for maritime security, blue economy, and traditional security. Important for maritime security, blue economy, and traditional security. So traditional security means infiltration and all these things. Earlier, what used to happen? Terrorists or Naxals or any groups, they used to hide in Bangladesh. They used to come into India, attack India, and go back and hide in Bangladesh. Okay, so the thing is very simple, right? Like this applies to 2 states, that is Myanmar and India, even Sri Lanka case also. It's something like this. Let's imagine this is Bangladesh, this is India. Let's say Northeast groups are there, Northeast insurgency groups or terrorist groups are there. They will start attacking in India and they will go and hide in Bangladesh. Can Indian forces cross this line? No, they cannot cross this line. Because this is a settled boundary between India and Bangladesh. Okay. Then again, after a few months, they will come back, attack in India and go back. So come into India, attack and go back. They used to hide in Bangladesh. Okay. If instead of Bangladesh, if I write Myanmar, the story is same. Northeast groups, Naxals, same. Okay. Naxals even used to get some weapons and training from China through Bangladesh, money, counterfeit money, lot of things used to happen. So every anti-national element will come to India, attack and hide in Bangladesh or Myanmar. When we spoke about peace, let's say peace, come and settle peacefully, we will talk with you. They were not willing to listen. Why? What is the need for them? They will go attack and go back and hide happily. They will give certain amount of money to, let's say, corrupt Bangladeshi politicians or security officers, etc. They used to happen. Then finally, with the help of Bangladesh, we solved this issue. Okay, we made this bulletproof. That means they cannot go back. So if somebody attacks in India, he cannot cross this point. Okay, that means he's like a forced to a wall. So when you are forced to a wall, that is when negotiations have started. That means all the insurgent groups started negotiating peace. In Northeast also, if you see peace now, because they don't have a route to escape all the way till Myanmar. The door from backside is closed. So now we are either forced to discuss with Indian army and die or surrender with peace. So this is the importance of Bangladesh and Myanmar. Without them, Northeast peace will not happen. And Northeast peace is a more than 75-year-old problem. Okay, clear? Blue economy means, as the name says, blue ocean on ecosystem. Deep sea mining, fishing, anything related to ocean is blue economy. Next, collaboration in regional integration. Collaboration in regional integration. Example, Act East policy. Act East policy. SARC. SAARC. SARC. BIMSTEC. Okay. Next, Vaccine Maitri. Vaccine Maitri. And humanitarian assistance. Vaccine Maitri and humanitarian assistance. Vaccine Maitri, all of you know, right? India gave vaccines to Bangladesh. Okay. Biggest beneficiary of India's line of credit. Biggest beneficiary of India's line of credit. $8 billion. $8 billion. Okay. And last point. Biggest trade partner of India in South Asia. Biggest trade partner of India in South Asia. Here, next, connectivity. Last 8 points. Connectivity. The transit agreement. The transit, TRANSIT. In South Asia. Southeast Asia, not on South, China is not South Asia, right? I mean, whatever on the right hand side of Indian Ocean and Andaman and Nicobar Islands, all those are South Asian countries. What was the point? Transit agreement. No. Transit agreement. I was answering this question. The transit agreement between India and Bangladesh. Transit means, see, land, air, and water, right? Technically speaking, it's inland, railway, and coastal. Inland, coastal, and rail. Okay, all three ways we are trying to connect with Bangladesh. Wherever we can have railway, we will have railway. Wherever we can have inland waterway, we will have inland waterway. Yes, so every mode of transport will be utilized. Next, BBIN agreement. BBIN, capital B, IN. Capital B, IN. BBIN agreement. Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, India. BBs, 2 Bs, right? Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal. It's a motor vehicle agreement. It's a motor vehicle agreement. So as you can see in the map, all the 4 countries want to connect with each other. Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal. So if all the 4 countries are connected through roadways, that will promote what? Trade. More roads means more trade. Last point in connectivity, Bharat-Bangla Maitri Bridge. Bharat-Bangla Maitri Bridge and other infrastructure projects. Bharat-Bangla Maitri Bridge and other infrastructure projects. Okay, so there is a bridge between India and Bangladesh called as Bharat-Bangla Maitri Bridge. Maitri means friendship bridge. So what do bridges do? They connect two lands, two areas. So more connections means more trade, more friendship. Okay, way forward. Work on tourism, P2P and B2B. Capital P, number 2P and B2B. Means people to people, business to business. P is people, B is business, G is government. So P2P, B2B, G2G, and all these things are called as people to people, business to business, government to government. So more P2P relation means stronger friendship. If more Bangladeshis are friends with India and if more Bangladeshis are directly doing trade and business with India, automatically they have better relations. P2P, B2B, G2G. Okay. Tourism is also a very important factor, right? Next. Focus on HIRA connectivity, H-I-R-A, HIRA, H-I-R-A connectivity. HIRA caps, right? HIRA connectivity. H means highways. H means highways. I means information ways. Highways, information ways, railways, and airways. This creativity is by Prime Minister Modi. Okay. HIRA ways. HIRA means diamond. No, HIRA means in Hindi, Hira Moti, that means diamonds. Okay, so this is a diamond between India and Bangladesh. Highway, information way, railways and airways. So if we are connected in HIRA, we will become HIRA. Yes or no? Okay. Next. SARC could be used for better cooperation among riparian states. RIPARIAN. Riparian states. What are riparian states? Let's imagine this is a river flowing in this particular direction. Okay, this is called as upper riparian, this is called as middle riparian, and this is called as lower riparian. So upper riparian states, middle riparian state, lower riparian state. For example, if this is Brahmaputra river, upper riparian is China, middle riparian is India, lower riparian is Bangladesh. Okay, so according to international laws, lower riparian states will have maximum rights. Lower riparian states will have maximum rights over the water. They will get the maximum share or they will have the maximum rights. Why? Because if the top two countries start constructing dams, who will suffer most? Lower riparian. So you should not suffocate the flow of the lower riparian state. Upper riparian, middle riparian, and lower riparian. In case of Brahmaputra, this is the three states: China, India, and Bangladesh. Upper, middle, and lower riparian states. So right now we don't have a mechanism to have a discussion with Bangladesh. So SAARC countries, all countries can come together and develop a consensus. Okay. So this is riparian states. And for general understanding, this can be called as catchment area. For example, all the water will fall from different places, right? Like forest and all those things, water will be collected. Wherever water is collected into the river, that is called as catchment area. Last point. Sonami Adhyay. SONAMI. Sonami Adhyay. ADHYAY. Sonami Adhyay. Between Bangladesh and India will take continuous efforts. Sonami Adhyay. Okay. What is in Bengali? Sonami means gold, the golden chapter. So whatever is happening right now between India and Bangladesh is a golden chapter. Again, last year 2021, right? Like 1971 to 2021, 50 years of Bangladesh liberation has been celebrated. So in that state, in that Prime Minister Modi celebrated it as Sonami Adhyay, the golden era. That means it's a good time that India and Bangladesh are having. So right now, India and Bangladesh have a very stable relationships. So stable relationships are very, very important. Thanks to Sheikh Hasina, we are having a very strong, stable relations. So Sheikh Hasina is the daughter of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. So that family have a very good connection with India. So that is also one reason why India is having good connections. There is one more party called as Awami League. They hate India technically. If they come into power, Bangladesh and India relations will not be this fruitful. I hope you understood the story. Yes. So this is the summary of India-Bangladesh relations. These are the points you have to remember. Again, this is for you to understand what is happening in the newspapers. If you see some article in the newspaper tomorrow, at least you will know why India and Bangladesh are collaborating or why we are constructing border fences. What is the problem and how China is influencing in our neighborhood. Got it? Any questions? Amog? Anything? Understood everything? So is India and Bangladesh having a stable relationship? Currently, yes. Why? How can you tell?
Because there are no, as compared to the issues, current issues with the other states, other countries, issues with Bangladesh are pretty much lesser. Lesser effective.
Okay. Any other reason? 90% of border issues solved. Okay. That's it.
I never saw extra effort by the Bangladesh to pressurize Indian border like China did or Pakistan.
So at least in the recent past, we haven't seen any issue between India and Bangladesh in the newspapers, right? That shows more or less there is some kind of stability, or at least the goalpost is not shifting. We know where the goalpost is with Bangladesh, where we need to work. For example, T-Star is not changing. It's our inability. Thanks to Mamata Banerjee, we are still discussing T-Star water issue. It would have been solved way back if she gave the support to the Manmohan Singh government. Okay, so she was afraid that she will lose votes in West Bengal, or West Bengal farmers may not vote to her. So she stopped that deal, and even till today, we could not go ahead. Okay, so there are certain problems in West Bengal in relation to T-Star water issue. It's a political issue, so they don't want to lose votes. So if BJP comes into power, technically speaking, maybe they won't hesitate, because national interest is bigger than parochial interest or narrow interest. See, Nobody wants Bangladesh farmers to suffer or West Bengal farmers to suffer in the first place, because as an Indian, I don't want my fellow Indians to suffer. We will make sure that West Bengal farmers will get certain amount of water minimum. Whatever is left to Bangladesh. Okay, that much I think India knows. The problem is politics. Politics created this problem. And inland waterway also took a good amount of boost after Prime Minister Modi came into power. Inland waterway is giving enough priority. So right now waterways are being encouraged. More trade is happening on waterways. More Northeast integration is also happening. For example, UDAN and all these schemes are also promoting integration with Northeast. For the first time, almost all Northeast capitals can be connected through airway. So good progress is happening, but again, as I said, in democracy, it will take 10, 15, 20 years for these things to be visible. Doing is one thing, for them to yield result is one more thing. Yes. If you don't have any questions, I will end the session here. Yes. Thank you.